Hello and welcome to The Big Fight, a show that is young at 23, the oldest running debate show on Indian news television. I'm Sanket. It is indeed a tragedy for the country, a very difficult situation for a country to be in. And I deliberately use the word country, not individuals. When your athletes, the celebrated mascots of India, are forced to sit on a dharna on a cold winter's night, on a cold afternoon, on the road. Why should an athlete have to do this? Is that the place for an athlete? Is that where we want to see our athletes? On the road, protesting? So the question is, how did things become so complicated, so difficult, that the athletes had no other option but to do this? How did it become so bad? Is the main and the most important question. Well, we started doing some research on this issue and we came across some extremely disturbing fact. And that fact is that indeed in this country, our athletes, our sports stars, the Indian khiladi does not have a grievance redressal mechanism. There is no association. Even the rich, BCCI, players do not have their own association. What is the fear, if I may ask? That the athletes will form a union, there will be unionization, they will start questioning the decisions of the federations, that they will start asking too many questions, that they will be up in arms? Is that what federations fear? And by extension, is that what the government fears? So while we do celebrate the achievements of these athletes by calling them up, by clicking a picture, by those congratulatory tweets, are we really doing what it takes or what is required to help the athletes as far as their grievance redressal is concerned? So on The Big Fight tonight, we are going to ask the most important question because of which this has happened. This is a dangal for dignity for the athletes. Is it now time for an athlete-driven association or associations in this country? Let me introduce our guests one by one. Rahul Mehra is a sports activist and lawyer in the studio with me. Norris Preetham, sports journalist. Thank you very much, sir. Sehdev Singh Balyan is a senior coach. Thank you very much for joining us. Ashwini Nachappa, former athletes. Reeth Abraham, also with us. Thank you very much for joining us. Shagun Chaudhary, first woman to represent at the Olympics, shotgun Olympian, in Asian Games medalist. Thank you very much, Shagunji, for joining us. And Amit Khanna is a former athlete. Thank you very much for joining us. This is a very important issue and it goes way beyond just wrestling, which is why we ask this very fundamental question. Why did the athletes feel the need to sit in protest? Is that how India wants to see its athletes? I think the honest answer is no. Let's begin the show. The format of the show is simple. We give each of our speakers 1 minute of time for their opening comments. We call this round the first punch. Mr. Rahul Mehra, we'll begin with you. Your time begins now.
So, Sanket, the question that you posed is actually the nucleus of all the problems. I completely agree with you that there should be an athletes commission. In fact, I've been fighting this battle in court in one of my public interest litigations for last almost 12 and a half years. It has now reached, after a landmark judgment on 16th of August 2022 from Delhi High Court to the Supreme Court, and none other than the Chief Justice of India himself, his bench is looking into all of this. The matter is coming up on 24th, which is Tuesday. The key issues out there, and this is one of those, is whether we should have Swaraj of sorts for the players.
Oh, wow.
The code from 1975, make no mistake about it, it's 47 years almost. Since then, the federations have been resisting players like Reeth, like Ashwini, like Rajyavardhan Rathors, Abhinav Bindras and Bajrang Punyas and the Sakshi Maliks to come into the federation. And, let me give you a simile. I'm a lawyer, right? Can somebody from outside come and govern a bar council of Delhi or a bar council of India? No. can a chartered accountant body be run by a businessman, entrepreneur or a politician? The answer is no. And so on and so forth. Sports is the only arena, the only vocation, and so professionalized today that you will have a khansama, a driver, a domestic help, a politician of the worst kind, a bureaucrat of the highest order, all people who are eating into the vitals of Indian sports, who should be shunned out of sports administration, are the ones who are manning it. So the problem lies in the people who are ruling the roost.
Okay.
If you have wrong people taking over a management of a particular body, you will only get wrong results, and you're getting all wrong results.
Okay. Norris Preetham.
Sanket, I agree with you when you talked about the association, and also with Rahul when he explained it to us. But I'm shocked, I'm surprised that there are top athletes in the Indian Olympic Association now, which is headed by an Indian superstar, P.T. Usha. There is Anju Bobby George, there is Gagan Narang there, Bindra is there, everyone is there, but none of them has uttered a word. I mean, P.T. Usha has said something after 2 days, but why do you think we're talking about associations, but this could have been the first step. These athletes, these top athletes should have come and show solidarity. I mean, don't take sides. Don't say whether Mr. Brij Bhushan is right or so-and-so is right. But beyond the posts, you be an athlete first. And they should have come and give some moral support to these players who are sitting on dharna. That would have been a big step in what you are referring to in association.
I think this is very important, and let me quickly
tell that's not possible because it's his master's voice.
I'll come to you. Let's quickly take the opening comments, and then we'll throw the floor open. I know you're raring to go, Rahul.
As always.
Sehdev Singh ji.
सर, संकेत जी, मैं ये कहना चाहता हूं, इस मैटर पर प्रधानमंत्री जी ने तुरंत एक्शन लेना चाहिए, क्योंकि एक आम मैटर नहीं है ये देश की अस्मिता का सवाल है। वो बच्चे बैठे हैं जिन्होंने देश को विश्व गुरु बनाने में अपना अहम योगदान दिया है, विदेशों में झंडा फहराया देश का, नेशनल एंथम हुआ है वहां पर, एक आम आदमी वहां पर धरने पर नहीं बैठा है। तो इसमें प्रधानमंत्री जी ने तुरंत एक्शन लेके और उसको WFI को बर्खास्त करना चाहिए, और उसकी जगह मैं समझता हूं एक यहां पर हमारे हाई कोर्ट में, दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट में एक जस्टिस होते थे जो बहुत ही अच्छे निष्पक्ष आदमी रहे हैं, SN धिंगड़ा, उनके नेतृत्व में एक कमीशन बनाया जाए और ये सारा मामला उसको दे दिया जाए। अगर सरकार नहीं करना चाहती तो हम सभी पहलवान एग्री हो जाएंगे उस पर। SN धिंगड़ा पर आज तक कोई एलिगेशन नहीं है, वो बहुत ही अच्छे एक जस्टिस रहे हैं हाई कोर्ट के, दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट के।
जी
उनको
वो आपकी बात सही है, लेकिन देखिए अब जज भी आप चूज कर देंगे तो
और किसी जज को दे दे जो निष्पक्ष हो।
जी बिल्कुल, आई अंडरस्टैंड द सेंटिमेंट।
सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने अब खुद संज्ञान लेना चाहिए इस मैटर पर।
जी,
सुप्रीम कोर्ट भी संज्ञान ले सकता है, ये देश हित का मामला है।
जी बालियान जी, वापस आऊंगा आपके पास। अश्विनी नाचप्पा, योर ओपनिंग कमेंट्स मैम।
Well, this issue has been quite rampant. It's not that it's come out in the open for the first time. Yes, it is unprecedented that Olympians and world champions are out in this cold winter and sitting there for dharna. This is unprecedented. But these harassments have been happening for decades. I remember as a young child, I think even when swimmers in the late early 90s and mid 90s, including Nisha Millet, Lorraine Verghese, all of them started this issue way back then. And today I'm in 2015, when 4 girls tried to commit suicide in a Sai center in Kerala, I headed the expert committee, as a chairperson to to actually look at all the STC centers and give our view. And Gopichand was also part of that committee. We went through centers. We had, Child Rights Commission personnel in this committee.
Right.
We gave an extensive report, but sadly the intent by all, I'm saying all these people, whether it's federations or the governments, to address this issue seriously hasn't been seen.
I think that's the most important point. And you may invite these wrestlers to your house. You may strike a very cordial note. But the point is, address the root cause of the problem. And as Ashwini is saying, attempts have been made in the past to tell people the problem, which is why in this edition of The Big Fight, we are going to look at the possible solution going forward. Can an association for all the athletes in their respective federations, in their respective field, be the answer? A sort of a grievance redressal mechanism. Reeth Abraham, your comments.
Yes, it's really sad that even these days things like this are happening. It was happening in the earlier days also, but our girls did not have the courage to come forward and make it public that they have been sexually abused. At least now I'm happy that the girls have the courage to come out and make so much of noise about it. And the best thing is even the male wrestlers are sitting along with them and protesting. So this is not just a joke. The girls are serious about, how badly they have been treated. And it's a voice that everybody has to be heard. Why are the politicians holding posts in the associations is the first question I want to ask. As a politician, let him do his job in the politics side. Why come and try to administer the administration side of an association or a federation? He doesn't know how to run the federation. He doesn't know what goes behind an athlete's life, what he or she requires to, excel and do well and bring glory to the country. This is not happening. I mean, we have to stop this. Let a politician be there as a patron to support the kids by getting sponsors, getting funds, and taking care of all their other activities where they need the funds to excel. But not holding the post as a president and secretary. Definitely, he doesn't know his job.
Correct. Shagun Chaudhary, your comments, ma'am.
I think, Sanket, the crux of the matter is that what actually led these athletes to go and protest at Jantar Mantar. The reason why that happened is because probably the federation, the Wrestling Federation of India, does not have an athletes commission where they can actually go to and share their grievances with. And that is what needs to be changed. Like, for instance, in the National Rifle Association of India, we have a grievance cell which is run by former athletes. And in case we have certain issues that need to be dealt with, we go and speak to them about it, and they come to and they address our concerns, and they take necessary action. I also feel what really needs to be done is there needs to be a higher percentage of women participation, whether it's in terms of administration, because we are seeing that a lot of women are being subjected to whether it's sexual harassment, or because women in sports, I mean, they're only increasing by the day, but what's not changed is the number of women who are in the administrative sector. So I feel if that changes and there is more representation of women, then it'll be easier for the athletes to kind of address their concerns with them and to find the right path forward.
Right.
So those are two things that I think need to be
very important points, and we are going to start our discussion on those points also. Representation of women not just in sports but sports administration. Correct. I think that's an important point. Amit Khanna, your comments please.
Yeah, Sanket, I would say we have to understand the fact that who are these athletes. They are well-established, decorated sportsmen of our country who has made our country proud at various platforms. See, usually we'll find these athletes either working out in their gym, in their playground, or resting. Why they have come onto the streets, we have to really find it out. And there has to be a genuine reason, because it is not just one of them. It is the whole group who are out on the street doing the dharna, missing their training sessions. I personally feel it is the lack of communication, because I think the federations are not giving them chance, opening up with them so that they can communicate their problems, their grievances, they can just share with them. I would say in our Athletic Federation of India, we have the president Adil Sumariwala, who himself was an Olympian. Anju Bobby George, we all know. So anytime if there is a problem, an athlete can have easily access to all these officials. I think the communication is a big thing. Athletes should have an access to speak about their problem to the higher officials. And for that matter, I would say we need to have more athletes in the federation who can hear them out.
Right. You see, Rahul Mehra, just a short while ago, Mr. Norris Preetham said that athletes are there in the association, like the Indian Olympic Association has athletes, and for a very considerable long period of time they have not spoken out. So do you feel that even athletes run the risk of being co-opted when they become a part of a very systematic federation driven structure? Which is why the question that I asked was an association for the athletes by the athletes, which has nothing to do with the federation. You can have a federation, but an association, grievance redressal,
Sanket,
with more women.
Actually, both go hand in hand. So the structure which is right now being debated and argued in the court, and hopefully the decision is around the corner by the Supreme Court of India, as I shared with you, is involving all the issues which we have discussed so far and many more. So just to give you a flavor, you need to have, according to me, minimum 50% representation to women. You know, take up any sport where India is doing well. It's the women which are actually championing the cause of, you know, taking India to the next level.
And what's the stat as far as their role in the administration?
Probably not even 0.1% today. Where is a women in Indian cricket? The best, the most popular sport in the country, right? Can we just come out with one name as a women administrator? Not even one. So that's the level of women representation. Completely agree with Shagun that, you know, women need to be empowered. They need to be brought into the mainstream. Number two, you know, in the administrative part, you need to actually unshackle the control of these people. See, there are committed electoral colleges which have been created, handcrafted over decades. You need to just unshackle that, and that's the way it has happened in the Indian Olympic Association. There were defunct bodies called state Olympic associations which were being misused by everybody, anybody and everybody. And they were having a majority out of, first of all, they had a house of 184. That's now been reduced because of my PIL and the judgment which has recently come in. It's been reduced to almost 85. So more than half of the house has been completely discontinued. They've been derecognized. And the half which remains now, the government unfortunately came in, controlled the entire electoral process, which I'm going to be now talking, probably arguing in the court on 24th. And that's how the PT Ushas and the Gagan Narangs came in, unfortunately. Why is it that Reeth or Ashwini or anybody with independent voice, I'm saying, can Abhinav Bindra today be the president of IOA? The answer is no, because he's not a puppet in the hands of the powers that be. He shall never be. You know, will Reeth ever be there? No, because she has an independent voice. Will Ashwini be there? No. Shagun, unfortunately, I don't know that much, but I'm sure, you know, she sounds as a well-meaning athlete. She says the right things on national television. And that so I'm sure her. She will not be a part even in NRAI, subject to correction. But none of these people who can stand, who have a spine, who can think right, and that's exactly who are educated, who are articulate, will never find a way.
Shagun, you know, in the introductory remarks when we were beginning this program, I spoke to a lot of athletes before this program, and many felt that there is a fear. The demand for a grievance redressal association in every sport is a very old one. It's not a new demand. I mean, you have been fighting this case for over a decade now. Shagun, do you feel that the fear is that the athletes will start speaking and start demanding and will go out of control, and it'll be very hard to, you know, tame them, and that is the reason why these associations are not happening?
As athletes, I can assure you one thing: we stay away from drama. So we will only address issues that are actually
stay away from
drama.
Drama, okay.
We don't need any more drama in our lives. We have plenty. Yeah. So if there is actually a well-meaning issue that needs to be addressed, only then does the athlete come forward and speak to the authorities about it. Otherwise, we have enough on our plate as far as competing and training is concerned, where we have to deal with all that as well. So I don't think that in terms of, there's no fear, but there should be a sense of security that an athlete feels when there are issues that have to be dealt with, and they have the right competent authority that they feel they can trust in order to go and speak their heart out, and also believe that they will be dealt with the right, the right way.
No, but how exactly will that happen, Ashwini Nachappa? You see, right now, Shagun mentioned that there is a grievance redressal mechanism in her stream, and a lot of athletes go there when they have a problem. But let's, for instance, take the example of football. We were speaking to Mr. Baichung Bhutia, who said that football perhaps is among the very few sports that have an association, but the AIFF has not recognized their association.
One, but sooner or later they will have to, because of the Supreme Court judgment, which is going to happen sooner or later, much sooner than later.
We won't second guess that.
But no, but all I'm saying is, you know, again, football is in court. AIFF, in my own case, I've taken it to court. Praful Patel was asked to step aside. Somehow he managed, then he tried to hijack the entire process, got FIFA to write a letter banning India, and everything, you know, all hell broke. All I'm saying is, why are these administrators who have nothing to do with sports
so interested in sports?
Why do they fear sports person so much? Because they know that the moment a sports person comes in, he's not going to, like Shagun said, drama is going to be all over.
Yeah.
Your rhetorics are going to be all over, and you're going to be talking about core issues which affect the athlete. They don't want that.
Abraham, would you like to weigh in here? Do you feel that's the fear?
Sanket, I think Rahul mentioned two very relevant points. If you have a redressal system that is in place and picked by the federation, I don't know how effective it's going to be. It should be an independent body, and it should be a commission from the Child Rights Protection Commission that, you know, heads that committee. There should be counselors on that committee. And that's very important, because today you have a lot of young children, especially girls, doing well at the world stage. And unless you build capacity and unless you give them that confidence to approach somebody and have that kind of rapport, it's going to be very difficult if it's handpicked by the federation. So I agree on that point. And on the second point, what Rahul said is you have to unshackle the entire system. I mean, we've been fighting this since 2010. It's not necessary that every sports federation must be headed by a sports person. I think it is important that we have competent people, professional people running the business of sport.
And I'd rather go down in the hands of a Reeth Abraham or a Shagun or a Ashwini than in the hands of some idiotic person who has nothing to do with sports and who's just ruling the roost out there for all the wrong reasons.
Norris Preetham and Amit Khanna, one by one. Mr. Norris Preetham, you see, there are many examples of allegations against these, political appointees in sports, and very little action that has followed post those allegations. For instance, in an earlier broadcast, we were discussing that there was a very recent case where allegations of sexual assault were there against a very prominent member. It's been 6 months since those allegations, still no action. In this case also, I mean, had this been another normal individual on the street, an allegation like sexual harassment would have meant jail first and then the investigation. Do you feel that the system kind of provides itself immunity the way it has been built?
That's what I said. We're talking about the earlier program. Rahul can throw more light on it. I was wondering why are we, first of all, these wrestlers should have at least complained to the police. Even if they haven't, the protesters in question are big time athletes. They have gold medalists, they have silver medalists, Olympic medalists.
But they are protesting now.
They are protesting. Somebody should have taken a suo motu notice. I mean, Rahul can throw more light on it. The entire police station, parliament station, SHO is there, DCP is there, ITB, everybody is watching tamasha there. Why can't somebody take an action against them? So what if Vinay...
The point being made is that there has to be a complainant first. Yes. I mean, you can't investigate in thin air.
Yes.
In fact, you know, the government needs to step in. Under the sports code, which is law in India, till the time a legislation on sports come in, that's what has been held by the Supreme Court, that till the time the sports code is there, it's mandatory for everyone to follow. The sports code itself gives you a solution to this problem. It says at page 85, 86, 87 of the code, there's a document called Prevention of Sexual Harassment, how you have to have your own rules and what is your committee going to be.
What does that say?
It says that you have to have a committee, which is an internal complaints committee. There is none. You know, I have a document which I'm carrying today.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. It's just now taken from the website of Wrestling Federation of India.
Okay.
You know what it reads? In order to ensure ethical practices and fair play in sports, including elimination of doping practices, match fixing, fraud of age, and sexual harassment women in sports, the WFI has established an ethics commission comprising of the following: 4 male, 1 female, Sakshi Malik. They call this a sexual harassment committee.
And Sakshi Malik is protesting.
No, and Sakshi Malik is protesting. But under the law, you have to have a woman who has to be the chairperson. You have to have at least 50% women who have to be there in this sexual harassment. And there are 4 men and 1 woman. And ethics commission is, it's actually in the fine print it's ethics commission, but in the heading it says sexual harassment committee because there's so much of noise being made today. So they have fudged their own website.
Yeah.
But Sanket, just to put everything into perspective, you take all the cases that's happened since 1990s. Rahul can tell us, has one incident till today seen any logical conclusion or anybody has been punished till today?
Yeah. Majority
That's
compromises.
the point that I was making, that this Reet Abraham, do you feel that the way the system has been built to favor the politician, to favor the administrator and the athlete, you know, you're basically feeding on his or her big majburi, that let me not get into this drama, let me keep quiet, my game may get affected, my future may get affected.
Yeah, that's what is happening everywhere. Everywhere. I mean, if you see in any state, even on this panel now, will any of the youngsters come and say anything about what they are going through? Nobody will come. If a battle has to be fought, it is us athletes who have done with the sports, want to do something and give back to the sport. And even in Karnataka, we've been fighting a whole lot of battles with our associations, but nobody wants to help us. We've even gone to the court. We've gone to the High Court to bring, a stay on one of the associations here, but nothing is solved. We've been fighting for the past 5 years. So that's the case in almost all the associations and federations. Nobody wants to hear us because they have political clout with them and they think they can do what they want.
You know, the problem is...
One more. Amit Khanna, do you also agree with what many of these very celebrated athletes here are saying, along with yourself, that this system itself, the manner in which it has been built, is anti-athlete. It's anti-sports.
I would totally agree with Reet. She just mentioned that, when you are actually into the active sports, you have a fear of that you will be dropped out of the team if you're going to be raised an alarm about any injustice which has been done to you. And this is the time when we have actually overplayed our innings and we can do something for the sports and, contribute. We have to raise our voice. People who are reputed athletes should raise their voice against whatever is happening. They should all gather up along with them at the dharna so that, their voice should be heard loud and clear and an action should be taken.
This is just one, like an inflection point that you can say. But beyond this individual incident where the wrestlers are now gathered in protest, I'm talking about a larger issue, right? This is just people up in arms against the Wrestling Federation. I'm sure there are many athletes everywhere.
Sanket, I'd just like to come in here.
Yes.
When I was the chairperson of the expert committee and we had to go around the centers, and one of the centers, when we visited around 8 in the night, they had, put out a red carpet for us because we were the so-called expert committee and we are meeting young athletes who are staying under the stadium. Where you have the steps and the rooms are under the stadium. With absolutely no ventilation. And Gopi was with me. We went into the girls' dorm there. You wouldn't believe there were 30 of them in one single room.
Oh God.
And the beds were joined like this. Okay, and they were all kids of 13, 14 years, some younger than them and who hadn't yet menstruated. So some of the children had pads on top of the, they didn't know how to go to the toilet because if they had to go to the toilet, they had to walk over beds and beds to reach the toilet.
Oh God.
And there's a warden. The qualification for the warden then was a widower. And Gopi really cried there. It was heartbreaking to see such a scene at 8:30. Kids and they were just waiting for us to arrive so that they could get their ice cream and chocolates. And these are young kids.
Yeah.
So if this is the kind of system you're going to start building at that age, it is quite scary.
But who's responsible for all of this?
And this report has been given. This report is there in public domain. What needs to be done in 2015? And yet today we come across such incidents. It is absolutely shameful.
Rahul,
we
before
don't
you
have a
answer,
system to pay.
Norris Preetham as well as Mr. Balyan, one by one. Mr. Preetham, most of the athletes here, all of them say that the problem is known.
Yes.
The government knows it, federations know it, everybody knows it. It is not being addressed. Is it safe to say that this system in its present form is completely broken?
Absolutely.
It is not athlete friendly. In fact, it works against the interest of the athletes. And thus this needs a structural change.
Correct.
I think system is not broken. There is no system. there is a little difference between the two that I am saying. There is no system at all.
It's a systematic system.
If a person who himself confesses that he has shot a person with a bullet,
That is
and-
crazy.
and he
Yes.
can become the president of a federation.
No, he slapped,
he slapped
an athlete
which is on camera.
a few years ago.
Right. People are scared when they go to his office. I have seen how wrestlers, top class wrestlers, they keep waiting outside his office, waiting for, as if he's a Maharaja, waiting for an appointment to see him.
It should be the other way.
Other way, he should come out and receive them.
Correct.
The big posters are already there. When somebody wins, his picture is bigger, like Mr. Modi.
Ah.
From the Red Fort, he says athletes are doing very well. Man Ki Baat, very well. Tokyo, when somebody, Neeraj wins a medal, he calls them up. But this was a time, and he should have a separate episode of Man Ki Baat and take up this issue, and please regret this incident and ask apologies
You know,
for
one
the
thing,
players.
Mr. Balyan, that I noticed, all the wrestlers, जितने पहलवान थे, उनमें से किसी ने भी सरकार को कटघरे में खड़ा नहीं किया है. उन्होंने अपनी रेसलिंग फेडरेशन के जो अध्यक्ष हैं, उनके खिलाफ वो आंदोलन कर रहे हैं. उनकी उम्मीद अभी भी सरकार से ही है. आप अगर उनके बयान सुन
So I
लें,
wanted to answer, but I'll answer after Mr. Balyan.
अभी भी उम्मीद यही है कि सरकार कुछ कर दे. लेकिन we don't have, and for a good reason, I have not invited politicians here, otherwise, you know, they would have hijacked and then we wouldn't have had a discussion.
Correct.
The point is, this man openly, as Mr. Norris Preetham said, he goes on tape to say that yes, I have shot a person.
Only one. Only one.
मैंने तो एक ही आदमी मारा है. बस एक ही आदमी मारा है.
But that was
And then
bad luck actually.
Yeah, and a few years ago वो एक एथलीट को थप्पड़ मार दिया स्टेज पे. Imagine if ये एक आदमी अगर कैमरे पे ये सब कर रहा है, what must be happening behind the camera when there was no camera?
देखिए संकेत जी, आप इसी से अंदाजा लगा सकते हैं. एक आदमी खुद मीडिया के सामने ये कह रहा है, अगर मैंने केवल एक आदमी मारा है, और आप उसके अगेंस्ट, हमारे जो पहलवान हैं, हमारी बेटियां हैं, उसके अगेंस्ट बोल रहे हैं, तो इसमें तुरंत सरकार ने एक्शन लेना चाहिए, उसको तुरंत भंग करना चाहिए और उसके खिलाफ इंक्वायरी करवानी चाहिए. जो भी कोई हाई कोर्ट का या सुप्रीम कोर्ट का चीफ जस्टिस है रिटायर्ड, जिसकी छवि बहुत अच्छी है, उससे करवा लें. और दूसरा
नहीं, पर आप मुझे बताइए, एक ये गए, उसके बाद इसकी क्या गारंटी है कि अगला कोई और नहीं आ जाएगा?
सेम, इससे
नहीं,
बदतर आएगा.
इससे बदतर अगर कोई आ गया तो?
नहीं, जो हमारे जो एथलीट है, जो हमारे खिलाड़ी हैं, जो ओलंपियन हैं, वर्ल्ड चैंपियन में जिनकी पोजीशन है, उन्हीं को बैठाया जाए, न कि कोई पॉलिटिशियन.
बिल्कुल.
देखिए,
उनको नॉलेज है हर तरह की उनकी प्रॉब्लम की.
Amit Khanna wanted to come in, then I'll come to you. Amit Khanna wanted to say something. Yes,
It is
Amit.
very important. It is very important to maintain a balance. There should be people from the sport fraternity who are into the federation, but at the same time, as Ashwani has just mentioned, she's gone for a sports meet where the condition of the athletes was miserable. So we need to have people in the federation who can get us sponsors, who are influential people. So we need to have a combination.
This is a misnomer. I don't agree there.
Okay.
This issue
Some
doesn't
people
require
not in
sponsorship, I
agreement
think.
with you. Let's get them a right to reply also. Yes, Ashwini and then Rahul.
I don't think this issue requires any sponsorship.
Correct.
This issue requires the will and the intent to do the right things by everybody who is responsible to govern sporting federations.
Okay. Yes,
So,
Rahul
Sanket,
Mehra and then Sharma.
let me pose a question.
Yeah.
And we have celebrated, sports persons on the show. Will India, today's India, suffer from sponsorship of any sport? Forget cricket. I'm saying the worst of the worst in the ladder, in the pyramid, which is the least popular. If the sponsor knows that my money, every penny to the last, is going to be spent for the purpose that he is actually use it or giving for CSR or under whatever head? The answer to that is a big no. Nobody. There is no dearth of sponsorship in this country.
Absolutely.
There is enough money. The lack of confidence in the administration and the administrator, the lack of processes, the lack of transparency, the lack of sheer accountability of these people who are right at the top of holding these offices is the problem. And then if you use it as a platform for your own petty politics, for your own conflicted interest, for your own vested interest, there goes the entire structure. I posed a question as to who is responsible for all of this. Obviously, it's the administration which is, but according to me, the biggest culprit, and I'm talking across party lines. It's not BJP today or Congress yesterday or a BSP or a SP. Each one of them, if given a chance, have done exactly the same thing, which is that they have always never looked at the law, which is the code. They have applied it on their own whims and fancies. They've looked at the face. If the guy is from their political outfit or party, they will go to any length to protect, like we are seeing BJP is doing it right now with this person who's heading WFI. And it's, as I said, it's not BJP. Congress has done it all the time in the past. So therefore, the problem lies with the person who regulates. And who is the regulator in this country? The government. Government provides the funds. None of these guys can even stand up if the government withdraws funds.
So which is why...
So therefore, why are you not suspending WFI right away? I'm saying don't de-recognize them, but there are enough grounds. If you don't know your own code, please, I'll give you free of cost advice. I will give you the clauses.
No, it's not about
suspend them.
It's not about not knowing your own code. It's about the political consequences of taking that decision and implementing.
Don't tell me that in front of the topmost two leaders of this country, this man stands a chance. Please don't give me that.
You know, see, the thing is, not looking
But
at this
Rahul,
in
the
isolation.
sports code has not been adopted in total even in our state.
So that is why, that is why my case is going on and it's coming up.
Which is why
where all the funding has been stopped.
Thank you.
Ms. Chaudhary, Ms. Shagun Chaudhary as well as Reet Abraham, which is why this discussion on what does one do? Like if athletes come together and tell us the solutions, as Shagun very rightly mentioned that this drama will go. So what does it take for this drama to go? For athletes to come out and say, here is what we want, this is what needs to happen. The athletes must have a voice, there should be a platform, so that they do not have to sit in protest on the streets.
There just has to be a process for and a step-by-step way of, like I said, addressing these things. If there's there should be an athletes commission for women, where women, which can be formed as an independent association so that it's not linked to any federation. And if any athlete as a woman has a problem or has an issue, can go and deal with this, can go and deal with that association, which is not interlinked with any, whether it's politics or whether it's any federation or whatever, but there has to be a process in place. Asking for a resignation of one place, which Rahul was, if the present president of WFI resigns and there's a new person who comes, who could be worse also. If, what is the guarantee? There's no guarantee. So the idea is to fix the process. There has to be something, like I said earlier, the reason why the girls went to Jantar Mantar to protest was basically because they had nowhere else to go. If they would have had a cell where they could have actually voiced their concerns or whatever, maybe this would have been addressed differently.
True.
And that is what needs to change.
Reet Abraham, your views?
Definitely there has to be an athletes commission, but I don't agree that it has to be only for the girls or the women. I think even the male athletes also suffer in many ways. So if there can be a commission with both the male and the female athletes, former athletes, making a commission and being the spokesperson for the athletes who have to concentrate on their sport, and only their aim should be to win medals and bring glory to themselves and the country, that would be the best thing. But if we have to make the associations and federations accountable for their actions and ask whoever is responsible to step down immediately, that would be a lesson, to all the federation associations, that we can take action against that.
Exactly. You see, Mr. Balyan, there is no deterrence in the system. I mean, you are doing this because you know you can get away.
Yeah.
You are because
No
you know that there is no accountability. आपके पास political backing है और उस वजह से आपका वर्चस्व कायम है. अभी थोड़ी देर पहले आप बात कर रहे थे, आपका भी एक आइडिया था, आप उसके बारे में शायद जिक्र करना चाहें. A national sports tribunal.
स्पोर्ट्स
He had a suggestion.
मैं चाहता हूं एक नेशनल स्पोर्ट्स ट्रिब्यूनल बनाया जाए, उसमें हर गेम का खिलाड़ी अपनी प्रॉब्लम को रखे और उसका जो निदान है वो तुरंत होना चाहिए विद इन वीक. और दूसरा मेरा एक अपना विचार है, निजी विचार है, जैसे फेडरेशन को छोड़ो, अगली फेडरेशन आएगी, क्या पता वो अच्छी है नहीं है.
यही बात हम लोग कर रहे हैं.
तो उसकी जगह जैसे हमारी टीम को टाटा ने स्पॉन्सर किया है, मैं सबसे पहले रतन टाटा जी के चरणों में नमन करता हूं कि उसकी वजह से हमारे 3-4 जो लगातार हमारे ओलंपिक होते हैं उसमें रेसलिंग बहुत अच्छा परफॉर्म कर रही है ड्यू टू रतन टाटा. उसने जो हमारे को फंड दिया, जो हमारे जितने भी पहलवान हैं सब गरीब घर के हैं, पिछड़े इलाकों के हैं, जो उनके पेरेंट्स हैं जमीन बेच के उनको खिलाते हैं, पहलवानी करवाते हैं. तो रतन टाटा जी ने जो फंड दिया है उससे उन्होंने अच्छी प्रैक्टिस की, मेडल लाए देश के लिए. तो ऐसे ही रतन टाटा जैसे रेसलिंग ली हुई है, अडानी ले ले फुटबॉल को, अंबानी ले ले क्रिकेट को,
वो ले चुके हैं ऑलरेडी.
ये ऑलरेडी क्रिकेट तो ले चुके हैं. वो तो क्रिकेट तो एक ओलंपिक में नहीं आता ना वो गेम. जो ओलंपिक के अंदर जितने भी गेम हैं,
ओलंपिक स्पोर्ट्स को ले लें आप.
ओलंपिक स्पोर्ट्स को
स्पॉन्सर करने की बात कर रहे हैं, जो अभी थोड़ी देर पहले अमित खन्ना जी भी कर रहे थे.
Actually, there's another model of Odisha.
Yeah, where the state government has a
competition भी बनेगा.
I mean, what a phenomenal effort by a single chief minister.
That is true. It's
to have
remarkable.
adopted that sport for
Yeah.
For the country.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good
You're
model.
building world-class infrastructure.
Why
But
can't
then
every
you
chief
see-
minister in every state adopt one sport? We are sorted. We are just sorted.
Correct. So the solutions are there in front of us, provided you opt for that option.
Yep.
Very simply. Thank you very much to all of you. I'm very happy that we had this discussion in the middle of something that could have easily turned into a blame game and a huge slugfest. But the idea is to look beyond and look for a solution. Is a sports association run by sports stars for the sports stars the big need of the hour? Or a national sports tribunal or a sports commission? Sports Swaraj, as Rahul said.
Self-rule.
Self-rule is the need of the hour.
And whatever that rule may be.
On this
self-rule.
idealistic note, thank you very much for joining us. We're stopping for a short break at this moment, but Big Fight continues on the other side.